Hi, Abraham. Thank you for making this possible. I appreciate you and everybody that's here. And your teachings have helped me allow more peace to come into my life. And I think that's come because of an awareness of a bigger part of me that's the non-physical part. And I was hoping you can talk a little bit about that and kind of expand. And where that comes from is, I've heard people say that you're powerful beyond measure. And when I hear that, that feels good. That resonates with me. And I was hoping you can tap into that, explain that a little bit more.
Well, these days, that is our favorite subject.
Awesome.
Because everything that you are matters so much. You're here with such a reason for creation and joy. You come into this physical body and you focus. But when you start understanding that there is that larger part of you that you can allow, it's interesting because to even need to talk to our human friends about allowing the blending is odd just in and of itself, because the most natural thing would be for all of you to be here. And all of you would be here focused in any moment in time if you hadn't picked up attitudes and beliefs along your physical trail that cause you to introduce into your own vibrational point of attraction a sort of discord, a resistant frequency, a different frequency that equals static in your signal that disallows the clear signal of who you are to flow. So let's just talk about what's going on with Esther right now, because she stands here in her physicalness. You can see her. We're utilizing her physical apparatus and her voice and her ability to find words that match the vibrational frequency. In other words, this experience could not be happening if it were not for Esther's participation in it. But beyond Esther's participation in it is a broader perspective that she is allowing and therefore translating. So this moment in time is a more powerful moment for Esther and for those of you who are participating here, because she's allowing more of herself to be present in this moment. Now, who is Abraham? Abraham is consciousness beyond what is physically focused. Abraham is a consciousness, a collective consciousness that everyone has access to. You just got to get on the vibrational wavelength of it. So when Esther was she born with the fullness of Abraham flowing through her? Well, the correct word would be yes. She was allowing all of that, but her exposure to life, and we're speaking of all of you in the same way, her exposure to life wasn't causing her to ask for things in a specific way. So the well-being was flowing and the consciousness was flowing. But as she spends more time moving through life and more times knowing what she doesn't want and knowing what she does want, she creates a vortex that is then attractive in nature. And so this has been going on with Esther for a very long time, until she heard about spiritual guides. She heard about meditation. She heard about allowing herself to quiet her mind. And when she sat to do that, not even really having any conscious awareness that this would be the result of it. In fact, there's a very strong probability that if she had known that this would be the upshot of that, she would not have done it. But she sat and quieted her mind, and as she quieted her mind, she felt a detachment from the physical world. And over time, for about 9 months, Jerry and Esther meditated every day for 15 or 20 minutes. And gradually, without her being aware of it, because we weren't giving her words about it, she just sat for the good feeling of detachment. Without her knowing it, her vibrational frequency was clarifying. It was purifying. Another way of saying it was her average frequency was raising, because the meditation process caused the resistance to become less and less. It also made her more acutely aware of the way she felt, Because when you allow yourself to sit in meditation to raise vibration, it makes you more aware of when you are doing that thing you do that lowers vibration. So then we began interacting with her. Now, the reason that we wanted to talk about what you're asking about in this framework is because we want you to know that in every moment of every day, you have the potential of allowing a larger part of you forward. And it happens to people when they get themselves often into a very precarious position where something really matters. Sometimes they feel a power beyond measure, as you say, a clarity beyond measure. Someone earlier today was talking about it coming in spurts. It didn't feel sustainable, but it is more sustainable than you know. The combination of powerful wanting and allowing of that power to flow through you is really what all of you intended as you came into this physical experience. Not one of you said, I'll go forth, mix it up, figure out what I want, and deprive myself of it by my attitudes and opinions about things. Not one of you said that. Every one of you said, I'll go forth, I'll figure out what I want. It will be held into a sort of vibrational escrow for me until I'm able to figure out how to come into vibrational alignment with it. And when I do, a manifestation will occur. And then I will have a new vibrational stance from which I will compare again and ask again and line up again and receive again. In other words, you know that it's this ongoing cycle. So when you ask a question about your inner being, about that larger part of you, we want to bring into the discussion the word blended or blending. We want you to feel the blending of you and you. And we want the understanding of blending to be so significant that it's not even the blending between you and you, it's just you. We just want you to be present. But who are you? Who are you is the combination of all of this. Who you are is someone who explores and comes to personal decisions, and then who allows the personal understanding and knowledge and beingness of that broader, wiser, older self to flow with you in this moment. And if you can just blend those unique perspectives and recognize that you're in alignment or you're not, and when you feel good you are, and when you feel bad you're not, and just leave it at that. If you could just let your dominant intent be to be standing in a place where you are aligned with the central grid of who you are, then everything else will take care of itself. So here's how it all worked out. You come, you bang around, you interact with others, you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, you develop all kinds of opinions and behavioral patterns, and through much of that you're creating life by default because you really don't know for sure consciously what you're doing, except every step along the way you did have emotion that was letting you know how you felt. For the most part, you didn't really know what that meant. And that is really interesting to us, that the scope of humanity can be moving around, feeling things that feel good and feeling things that feel bad, and not have any real understanding that the better it feels, the better it is. How you got crossways of that one took some convincing by those who wanted your attention upon them, who wanted their life to be better, who believed that in order for their life to be better, you needed to conform to their desires. In other words, I would feel better if you would behave in a way that would make me feel better. And if I can control you, I will, because my feeling good really matters to me. And if I can't control you, then I'll just get more forces around me to try to control you, because feeling good is what I really want. So when we come in answer to what Jerry was asking, and in answer to what Esther eventually began to ask, Esther wasn't asking much in the beginning. Jerry was the asker. Oh, he had questions, because he had been banging around with all kinds of people for a long enough time to know that there had to be much more to the equation of all of this than was understood commonly. And so he began asking those pertinent questions, those personal questions. Esther was just sort of bipping along, living happily ever after. She was allowing good things to come to her, and they did. And as Jerry and Esther came together, they equaled a sort of powerful combination where he wanted to know, often from a place of being vibrationally out of whack with what he wanted to know. And what Esther added to the equation was not enough interest in the subject to have an opinion that was in her way. They would drive for hours, and Jerry would say, how come you never say anything? And Esther would say, well, I don't know. And he'd say, well, what's it like for you to drive across the country? And Esther would say, it's nice. And he would say, well, what are you thinking about? And she'd say, there's a cow, there's a barn, there's a tree. She wasn't speculating about the problems of the world. She was involved in her now, but in a place of allowing, So now we're saying to you that you provide both of those perspectives. You come, you mix it up, you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, you put it into a vortex, and we hold it there for you. And then, if we can convince you that how you feel matters more than all other things put together, if we can call your attention to the vibration of your core that Esther sort of found naturally, but many people do not, as you find this alignment with that core energy, in that alignment with your core energy, all things that you've been asking for will flow. And that's a nice thing, to get what you want. But even more, even nicer than getting that you want and that you want and that you want, is having all that you are present in this moment, listening to this conversation and taking it all in. More wonderful than all of the things that you could gather is an awareness of your present moment, an awareness from broader perspective. More than all other things put together, our desire for you is that you are able to stand in your now and witness it through the eyes of Source. That when someone walks into your space, that you can know who they really are. Not who they've manifested themselves to be, because they might have some personal catching up to do. But who they are in terms of their vortex. Who they are in terms of what they've lived and what they've asked for. So that you can witness the wholeness of who they are, even before they know it. And that's what true upliftment is. This is a room full of teachers, a room full of uplifters, and that is your gift to the world. When you are able to see someone in their wholeness, even before they know it and are able to display it. When you are able to find the harmony of that which they really are, even before they even understand it, and hold so true to the vibrational frequency of your source and theirs, that they must conform to the alignment of who they are if they are to be seen or witnessed by you. In other words, they must conform because that's who they are as far as you know. And if they don't, they bounce out of your experience. They move somewhere where you are not. They become invisible to you. They live on those islands that have nothing to do with you. When Jerry first met us, he said, Abraham, I've got the perfect plan for incarceration of those ne'er-do-wells. We should have islands of rapists, islands of murderers, islands of thieves, islands of those, and then they can just join one another on the island and do that thing they do to each other. And we said, those islands exist. They are vibrational islands. You just have to decide what vibrational frequency is yours, you see. And the emotions within you are your key. If we can convince you that you are source energy in a physical body, and that you have infinite intelligence at your fingertips, and all things that are of interest to you can be attracted to you by you immediately. You just have to get that cluttered vibration out of the way, which is the only thing that has been keeping you off your signal enough that you haven't been tuning into it. Once you get hold of these thoughts, and we think we have laid out a pretty good process for you to understand it. Do you get it that you're vibrational? Do you? You sort of kind of do, don't you? And do you understand that you focus through thought? You do know that, don't you? And do you understand that law of attraction is bringing things to you that match the vibration that you're offering? And doesn't it make sense that by knowing what you don't want, you're able to discern what you do want, that there's a defining? And can you believe us when we say, this is the part that it sort of goes south for some of you. It's the part that we want to emphasize so that you can really, really get it. The source within you trusts so well that your exposure to life has caused you to know what you want, that the source within you lines up with that and radiates that signal. So if you know those things, if you know that that signal is being beamed and that your emotion is your clue to it, and then here's the last piece and the only piece that matters, you care about how you feel, then you're able to guide yourself into alignment with your grid. You are. You're able to do it, and you're able to do it often, and you're able to do it easily, and you're able to sustain it. You're able to do it frequently, and you're not freaking out if you're not able to sustain it because you remember how you did it before. You went general. You got off the specifics that were bothering you until you tuned in to the frequency of who you are. And when you tuned into it, in the moment that you clicked into place, manifestation of feeling better ensued. Relief started sweeping over you, and then you began to feel the power of your beingness.